Hello everyone, it's your sister Roland, and all I need is a few minutes to discuss this screenshot of a article. This was back in March 10th or 11th of this year. I had did a video on it, but I felt like I needed a series of forgiving God. Can you forgive God? It's time to forgive God, because I could say it's time to forgive God, but some people, can you forgive God? Are you able to forgive God? So I had did a video back in March, like I said, where Vanessa Bryant had, posted pictures about her daughter and a fan. Well, let the video speak for itself.
And today, as I was scrolling on YouTube, I saw this on my timeline. And this is of Vanessa Bryant. This is not an interview that she had, but it was two pictures that she posted on her page, and a fan commented. But this is what she said. Vanessa Bryant says she hasn't forgiven God following the passing of Kobe and Gigi Bryant. This was on Hot 97's page, and it came up in my timeline. This is what was said. A fan commented on the post and commended Vanessa on the way she's handling her grief. The way you handle grief is powerful. I've lost loved ones close to me, and can't seem to forgive God for taking them. The fan writes. Vanessa shares that she hasn't yet forgiven God either. I haven't forgiven God either, she explained. Our priest said, that's okay, he can handle that.
So that was part of the video of me reading the actual article and the comment from the fan and what Vanessa Bryant replied to the fan. And January 26th will make it the second year anniversary of all who died on that plane crash, including her husband and her daughter. So, as I had stated in the video when I did it, I said Vanessa Bryant's feelings were valid. They're not outrageous. They are valid, and it only shows that she is human. Because for you to lose your husband in that manner, and for you to lose your daughter also, that's something very difficult to overcome. That's not something easy that you can get over right away. And I think this year was, if he had not died, it would have been 20 years of their marriage. And even her daughter, I think she had died when she was 13. I think she probably should have graduated middle school, if not probably last year or probably this year. I'm not sure. But then, when that time comes where she was supposed to graduate high school and college, and all those things become difficult. And then it is difficult because, and then that first thing is to blame God, because you're like, why did you let this happen to me? Why it wasn't somebody else? Sometimes we think this too. Why did I have to go through this? Why did you choose my family? This is what we go through. This is what's difficult about losing people in our lives. And those of us who have gone through grief, or who is experiencing grief right now, how long do you stay in that state? When does the healing process begins? Because that you have to take the time to grieve, of course. But then how long is that grieving? How long is that grieving process? If you are grieving and then you are neglecting the people that are left behind, it's time for you to begin the healing process. It's not gonna be easy, it's not gonna be quick, but you have to begin. Because many times when we do lose people, most of the time that a part of us gets buried with that person. So now, if we have children left behind, we have family members, we are not even a whole person because part of us got buried. And it's like sometimes the more people we lose is like bits and pieces of us gets buried with that person, where it doesn't have to be that way. You can grieve for the person, you can be sorry, you can miss the person, but that doesn't mean a part of you goes in that way. That means that if that person used to bring out the loving part, the funny part in you, you're not that person anymore because that person doesn't bring, that person is no longer there. So now you're a quarter of a person, you're a third of a person, you're half of a person, you're 75% of a person, because that person, that part of you went with that person that you lost. And we have to begin the healing process, because tragedy, and then this is what one thing, tragedy or loss will cause us to let go sometimes and or distance ourselves from God. And God is the one who is able to help us overcome this grief, help us overcome this tragedy, help us heal. But then we let go of him. We distance ourselves from him because we're angry at him, or because we're upset, or we're disappointed. And then we let go of God, where we should not, where we do not need to let go of God. Look what happened to Job. Job, yes, he had, I think he had 7 sons. He had 7 sons, 3 daughters, and he had a lot of wealth. And the devil came and asked God if he could attack him. The devil came and asked God if he could attack him because the devil already knew his weak point. What was Job's weak point? Job said in Job 3:25 that what he greatly feared and what he dreaded, that's what happened to him. What did he fear? Job would regularly, I don't know if it was daily, I don't know if it was bi-weekly, but he would always go and give sacrifices for his children, because he was like, I don't know if my children cursing God and doing stuff, so I don't want nothing bad to happen. Because back then Jesus didn't die, so there was no grace. So when you sin, like the Bible says, the wages of sin is death, it was death immediately, because there was no grace to cover your sin. So that's why he would regularly offer sacrifice, because that's the only thing that would atone, that be the payment for your sin, to make a sacrifice. So he would regularly do that for his children. So he obviously had to regularly do that for his children, because maybe his children didn't have a relationship with God, because remember, the wife told him to curse God and die. So they didn't have that strong relationship with God. And the enemy knew that. The devil knew that. So he knew that's where he was going to be able to attack him. Because the enemy, even though God may give the enemy access to us, but do we have access to let the devil in? And unfortunately, Job did, and we all do, because we all are imperfect. So this is how the enemy came through his great fear. And it wasn't even fear, it was great fear. But in all that, Job did not let go of God. Yes, his wife told him to think of, and a lot of people villainize the wife, saying this is what she said. But the lady lost 7 sons. She lost 3 daughters. She lost all of her children in one day and everything that she owned. She didn't know how things was going to turn out. Maybe there's going to be homeless, to have to go back to family's house and stuff like that. So her feelings were valid. But in all that, in all this tragedy and all this loss that Job experienced, he did not let go of God. He did not distance himself from God. He kept on conversing with God, even though there was a lot of stuff that he was saying that God had to correct him, but he did not let go of God. He did not let go. He went through all the motions, up and down, but at the end of the day, he never let go of God. And God was able to, when he was ready, to open his eyes and to help him heal. And God was able to restore him. So if he had let go of God and cursed God and died, he would have never gotten Yes, he's not going to get those 7 sons and 3 daughters that died before, but God gave him even more than what he lost. More than, and he was able to see he was able to see 4 generations, because he did not let go of God, because God is the only one who is able to help us in when we're grieving, to help heal us, because he knows what we need. He knows how to go about doing it. And yes, therapy and going to therapy and counseling is good. But therapy and counseling without a relationship with God, that could hurt you more than help you. Why I say that? Because therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, they are trained professionals that help you. They make a safe place where you can open up. They have techniques where they can help you remember things that are suppressed, and you are able to articulate your true feelings. But then there are things you may remember. There are things that you discover. You may have to go on medication, because that might cause you to go into a deep depression. There are things that may have been suppressed, and then it comes up in therapy, it comes up in counseling, and then you're like, oh my goodness. And then you start being in depression, you start getting all these thoughts, and then you're going to have to go and, depending on who is your, medical professional, they might just put you on medication. Some may offer, coping mechanisms, good coping mechanisms, but you have to, implement them into your life and be consistent with them. But most of the times you may end up on medication. But with a relationship with God, where you discover this thing, or you're confronted with this truth. This is what it is. I'm angry. This is what happened to me. And then you go to God, and then God will be able to help you process this truth, process this discovery that you discovered. This insight, he's going to be able to help you process this grief. So why are you getting? So it's not only, oh, you only need Jesus, you don't need nothing else. Or you only need to go to therapy and counseling. You don't need nothing else. I say you need therapy and counseling and all that with a relationship with God, and then with not only medical professionals that are trained in that, but people who are in the Christian community that are trustworthy, that you can also talk to, and they could give you the spiritual aspect on that part. Because people say, oh, time heals all wounds. Time does not heal all wounds. Time just makes it even worse. Just because, like you see all the time, I previously mentioned, it was supposed to be their 20th anniversary. Her daughter was supposed to graduate middle school. All those stuff, when they're coming up, that just makes it even harder, because you'd be like, oh man, this was what's supposed to happen. We were supposed to do this. God forbid they had a replan on our 20th. This is what we were going to do. Now that's not going to happen. It can't happen anymore. So that's another thing. Time does not heal all wounds. It just makes it even more painful, especially if you have not begun to heal, or you're not in the healing process. It's just going to make it tougher. That's why I say it's not good to stay in that state. Yes, you're angry, you're grieving, you're sad, but don't stay in that state, because as time goes by, it gets more painful and painful, especially if you're not doing anything about it. Last and final point on this subject is when in Job 1:8, he said, God told Satan, have you considered my servant Job? Why is that important? That's important because back then, nobody really had that father-son-daughter relationship with God. That was not, he was just, God that they serve. You were just a servant of God. But when Jesus died for us, he broke that barrier. So now we are children of God. And then there's many verses where, like you said, like there's John 1:12, where it says, but to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Galatians 3:26, for in Christ Jesus you are all sons of God through faith. 1 John 3:1, see what kind of love the Father has given us that we should be called children of God. So we are not only God's servant, now we are children of God. You are a son of God, you are a daughter of God. So that relationship that Job had with God is not the same relationship that we have now with God. If you of course, if you have accepted him, if you have accepted, it won't be the same relationship. It won't be the same relationship because he considered Job as his servant. And even you see how he came through for a servant. Imagine you as his son, as his daughter, how God will come through for you. Think about it. So that's all I have to say on this situation. Remember, this is going to be a series. This is what's really, no, this is not what really sparked. I'm going to tell you exactly what sparked, but this is what I remembered. I said I need to make a video about this, but I'm going to show you exactly what sparked this series. It's time to forgive God. It's time to forgive God, but some of us have to ask ourselves, can we forgive God? Are we ready to forgive God? So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.